Okay. So I'm here with my wonderful Dr. Deborah Moore, and she's going to answer questions for my 30-day challenge girls. And so I'm going to read those questions, and then she's going to give y'all the fabulous answer. So the first question is, I had a partial hysterectomy that removed all but one ovary. So I have no way to predict my cycles. Am I able to have my hormone levels tested to determine if I'm perimenopausal? And how best to move forward? How will this affect my current and future weight management?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say, yes, you can definitely have your hormones checked, both saliva or blood. In this case, you could just do blood. And the LH and FSH are the things that we would look at for that. Those are from your pituitary gland, and they would help you make your hormones like progesterone and estrogen. So when those go really high, we know that the estrogen and progesterone are really low. We would check all the hormones basically. Now, not having, I'm glad you have the one ovary because it's probably helped you. And depending on your age, you know, if you're in that 50 to 55 group, that can be the perimenopausal group. So that blood test would tell you if you're really in menopause yet or not, since you're not having cycles because you don't have a uterus. And then how does that impact you going forward with weight loss or weight gain? When you don't have enough estrogen, sometimes you just have a myriad of problems occur. So maybe you stop sleeping because your estrogen's so low. When you stop sleeping, you can gain weight pretty easily. Or postmenopausal women have sleep apnea more, which is where you're not oxygenating when you are sleeping. And that affects weight gain. And then thyroid can kind of get in there too and be low, and that affects weight gain. So there's a lot going forward in menopause that does affect it. And sometimes testosterone is low too, and getting that up a little bit with exercise really helps with muscle. Therefore, your weight or your body composition gets better with that. So
you're so good. Okay. The next one is, my sodium level is always low when I have blood work, but I feel fine. I do drink lots of water and avoid foods high in sodium. It usually runs 124 to 128. Usually scares my doctors. Is this unusual? Is it the sign of a wider problem?
So sodium is made by your adrenal glands. And so, yes, I can see why your doctors would be scared by that low level. I mean, if you feel fine, that's reassuring. You might be drinking so much water that you're diluting the little sodium that you have. So if you have adrenal fatigue, where actually most Americans do have some form of adrenal fatigue, some
especially
are worse
now
than others.
The year we had.
Yeah, the COVID year really did ramp up the adrenal fatigue. So your adrenal glands are on your kidneys, and they make your cortisol, and cortisol is what you need for stress. Well, when you have a lot of stress for whatever reason, then they can just kind of get tired. And they help your blood sugar stay up high enough, and they help your minerals like your sodium stay up high enough. So when it's low, you can get dizzy when you stand. So I'd be curious to know if you were dizzy when you stood. And if you were, you could purposefully have more salty foods, now healthy salty foods. But you might need actually more sodium than someone else does. People with high blood pressure might need less sodium. But if you're really struggling with adrenal glands, that is the wider problem that you'd want to know about. And then you might not make enough cortisol and just feel run down. So it's great that you feel pretty good right now, but I'm wondering if at some point that's just going to catch up to you.
So would testing her cortisol levels help know that?
Sometimes, yeah. It has to be really bad to show low cortisol, but we would probably test both. And in women, the adrenal glands are making DHEA, which makes testosterone. So we would test some of that too and see.
And you did that for me. That was eye-opening.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else about that?
I mean, cortisol on the other spectrum, if there's too much, you can have weight gain from that. So yes, it's a pretty common reason for weight gain.
Okay, beautiful. Next one is information on thyroid deficiencies and if that could be contributing to increased weight gain. That's a big question.
It's a wonderful question because thyroid is such an issue in our culture, and it's probably, the amount of toxins we have, we just have a lot going on, and a lot of thyroid issues are happening. So if your thyroid is low, you'll have symptoms, sometimes like feeling cold a lot, gaining weight and you don't know why, or having trouble losing weight when you really should be losing weight based on your behavior. Sometimes depression, constipation, feeling just slow or needing a ton of sleep, and you sleep 8 hours and you still wake up exhausted. Losing hair or having really coarse hair and dry skin. That's all hypothyroidism, and there's a lot of people walking around with hypothyroidism that don't know it. And sometimes we can correct it with a good multivitamin. We use physician grade supplements, and sometimes that's enough because your thyroid needs vitamin D, it needs all the minerals, chromium, some of those things, and it's really fussy if it doesn't get those things.
I didn't know that. I mean, that one I got put on it back when I was 25 or something, so I wish I had you back then to tell me, let's try this first.
And the other thing about that is adrenal glands actually help produce your T3. So it takes T4 that your thyroid makes and turns it into T3. T3 is the more active thyroid hormone. So if you can support your adrenals and give your thyroid all the minerals and vitamin D it needs, then you could potentially walk out of your hypothyroidism without thyroid medication. Now, I wouldn't shun that medicine if you need it because it can be life-changing.
Right. And
so,
I could never get pregnant, but I was 25, but who knows if that was really the real deal.
And then thyroid is really a huge player in weight loss and weight gain. And so if you're weighing more than you think you should or not losing weight, then you should definitely have your thyroid checked out. The other thing that's sad is that if you go to the doctor and you test just with the regular doctor, then your blood test comes back at your TSH is like a 3. Well, in my opinion, that's probably about 3 times too high, but the lab paperwork is going to show that it's normal.
Right.
And most doctors will say, oh, it's fine. And they don't really talk about, okay, well, do you have these symptoms? And let me see your tongue. Is it swollen? Because you can look at your tongue. If you stick your tongue out in the mirror and you see the ridges from your teeth on the sides of your tongue, that means your tongue is swollen, and that's a really good sign that your thyroid is not healthy and that you need to help it. But the doctors will say it's fine, and then you walk out of there and you don't know what's wrong with you and you still feel awful. Right. And that's so frustrating for people. So at Amariilo MD, we ask those questions and really try to figure it out.
Right. You helped me a bunch with that because mine was like 0.5 or whatever, and you're like, well, how do you feel? And that could be normal because I was like, well, it looks like I'm should be 0 to 4. That should be normal, but 0.5 is what I felt great at all along, and so that's super interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think anything over 1 can be pretty problematic. And so
that's interesting.
Yeah, the lab values are 4 times higher than they probably need to be. But they get those labs based on people who are sick. So
right. So that's their measure.
Yeah. And you
don't
don't want to be measured by sick people. You want to be measured by well people. So
interesting.
We call it optimizing the thyroid because it might be normal on the lab paperwork, but it's not optimized for you.
Wow.
So
See, y'all need her, I'm telling you. Okay, last one is, I'm having a period every 2 weeks and have full-on flu symptoms a day before and during my period. Is there anything I can do to regulate it, or is this just perimenopause? I've heard to take progesterone on the 14th and 28th day of my cycle, but I have no idea which one is the real start of my cycle at this point.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm sorry you're having those symptoms because that's really miserable. So what I would do for somebody coming in with that would be that we need to get your body doing a cycle by using progesterone, and it's actually your body's supposed to have more progesterone days 14 through 28. But if you have some of the problems we've been talking about, adrenal fatigue, or just we kind of have a hormone deficiency crisis with progesterone for women, then your body's not getting that message. So we give your body the message by giving you bioidentical progesterone. And we do a higher dose days 14 through 28 and a lower dose days 1 through 13. And that's what your body's supposed to do naturally. So we always want to try to mimic what your body's supposed to be doing. So for you, if you're in that perimenopausal period, we probably test all your hormones and then make your body get into a cycle where hopefully you would quit bleeding as often. And then if you are showing to be very close to menopause, then we can put you on just a regular dose of that. And progesterone deficiency causes sleep problems, it causes cycle problems, it causes headaches. You're probably getting premenstrual migraines or hormone headaches that are making you feel like you have flu. So that's no fun, and I like to fix my patients, and so
yes,
I hope that
you're awesome at that.
that gets better.
You're awesome at that. So we'll be doing this every week during the 30-day challenge, and she's going to be answering questions once a week. And so if y'all have any more, submit them to me. And otherwise, you guys Dr. Moore, it has been a life changer for me. It just happened that she moved in next door to me and I met her and I was like, where have you been? Because I had never heard of you. And she's like, well, I don't really advertise because she doesn't have to advertise. So once this happens, she's going to blow up and I can't see her anymore. Just kidding. But tell them how they can find you on the internet.
It's really easy, AmariiloMD.com. So if you go there, you'll see an application that you can fill out. We're a very different practice. Obviously, I'm integrative, which is more naturally minded, but I'm also direct primary care. So it's a monthly membership that you pay that stays consistent, and then you get wholesale prices on labs and imaging and all that stuff. And really, with insurance or without, you can usually save a lot of money doing that.
Yes.
So we're kind of two specialties. Some people come to me because I'm integrative and natural. Some people come to me because they want to save money and they either don't have insurance and they want really good health care, or they have insurance and they have a high deductible and they still want to save money.
That's me for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so technically, I don't have a lot of spots open right now. I'm looking for another physician. So you may be put on a wait list if you apply, but I will look at those applications too and see who I can help and try to figure out a way to get creative with helping you. So if you need help, we try to get it to you.
And I've gone to many a doctor and she just like answered all my questions right away. And the cool thing is you have that app, and if you really need you right away, I've never had a doctor reply back to me the day I sent her a text. So it's impressive. Thank you so much for
You're
taking
welcome.
time out of doing
Thank you,
this.
Susie.
So appreciate it.
Keep it up, ladies.